I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. So everybody, this is our first time meeting.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here with us today.
No problem, no problem. I'm excited.
So I'm not going to introduce you because that's going to be a part of what you get to talk about to us. But I always like to jump in and let the people who are watching know, hold on, I always do this. This is not your opportunity to pitch. Okay? We are here for information on process and journey. And that's it. Okay? This is not for you to inundate with, well, I have this idea, and can you just? The answer is no, he can't. Okay? Not today, not during this time. All right. So, anyway, we always jump into this thing with the question of what's your backstory? How did you get into filmmaking? Did you always know you wanted to be a filmmaker? Like, what's that journey for you to get to where you are right now?
Okay. Well, I began my filmmaking journey at the age of 10 years old. I randomly asked my dad for a camera, and he worked at Rent a Center at the time, so he just snatched one off the back of a truck and gave it to
Yes.
me. You
Come
know,
through, Dad.
but before that, I was writing and producing, I guess one would say, my own songs when I was like 5 or 6, and of course, the painting, drawing, all those things. And film is the medium that encompasses all the arts together. So once I just figured out I was going to do that, for life in my senior year of high school, where I took a filmmaking class. Actually, I had to be forced, even though up from 10 years old, I was practically creating content, all the time. My
So
mom,
why did you have to be forced?
I don't know. So I think in my 16, 17-year-old mind, I built up my classes so that my senior year I could just coast. And
Mm-hmm.
I held off because I was always like in choir in the chorus room, but I never took the proper choir class. I said I was gonna wait till my senior year so I could just have all easy classes and just coast out of there. But mom was like, no, I'll take this filmmaking class. But I was like, I'm already a filmmaker. Why I need a class for it? You know how that goes. But I took the class, and that was my first time actually seeing that, oh crap, you can do this. You can go to school for this. You can
Yeah.
earn a living. So I think it was like AIU or Art Institute. One of them came to the school, and I signed up, and I went to film school right after graduating. Barely
So what film
graduated.
school did you go to, and what made you choose that school? And it sounds like you knew you wanted to go to film school. So it wasn't I'm going to college and choosing film as my degree. It was I'm going to film school. Tell us about that.
Well, to be honest, me and my mom go back and forth about this all the time. College was never a central focus that I can recall in my life. Like, I mean, sure, there's people in my family that went, but as it turns out, I'm the only one that graduated.
Mm.
So it was just never like college, like I didn't even know anything about, fraternities and all that whole life, Greek life, until after I got
Yes.
out of school, because I went to art school, so none of that was there. So none of that, even though I watched a different world, so I don't know why it wasn't this whole,
It didn't
yeah, I want
connect.
to go. Yeah, it did not connect at all.
You're like, that's TV.
Like I barely remember high school. I'm like, I can't even recall if I was a good or bad student. Like I'm just one of those people that just kind of like just filtered through, like.
Hmm.
So I didn't really even think about it until, yeah, so like January, February, senior year, and all my friends is like, oh, I'm going to this college, I'm doing this, I got this acceptance letter, and they're giving me grants and tuition. I'm like, oh crap, there's life
You're like,
after
wait,
this. So it was just
I'm
weird.
supposed to be doing something?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I got enough lunch. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
don't know what y'all talking about. So I missed that whole thing. But yeah, so and then like, okay, college, and of course, we fell into that whole trappings of loans and all that stuff because I don't think we knew any better. But yeah, and then I just it worked out, and everybody was going to college, and I was like, oh, I guess I am too. So that's pretty much just like a happy little accident, I guess.
So where did you go and why did you choose there?
I went to AIU, American Intercontinental University here in
Mhm.
Atlanta, because they came up to the school and like, hey, we have a film program, so I'm like, well, I
Well, here it
guess,
is.
I guess, so that's what that
Yeah.
was.
I love this because a lot of people always assume that depending upon where you are in your life, it means you had it together getting to that place. And it's so good to just hear someone say, no, I didn't know, or I wasn't even thinking about that, or like, that's not even what my focus was. It just kind of landed, you know, where it landed, which teaches us that, you know, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? You got what you needed out of AIU, regardless to whether, even if it was a semester before then, you hadn't even thought about it. You know what I'm saying? But you got what you needed. Yeah, and it's weird because you're in Atlanta, so you're surrounded by colleges, and for you, it's still just like not even something that you're considering, which is fine.
And I go like, what were you thinking about? What were you doing? And I can't remember none of it. It was just, I don't know, probably on the internet.
You know, for a lot of my younger life, I used to regret, in quotations, going to college, because I know college isn't necessarily something I need to survive in this industry. So for a while, since I ended up getting into the industry later in life, I have a whole nother life where I was in musical theater. And so I was always the oldest person on my cast, even if I didn't look it. And I remember I could have graduated high school and gone straight to New York or gone straight to LA. Like, I didn't have to go to college to do what I do. Did I learn a lot in college? Of course. I always tell people college teaches you how to learn. That's all it is. It's just a degree that you give to your job that says, I know how to listen to what you're telling me to do, and then regurgitate it in some kind of way. But, you know, all of the relationships that you get while you're there, participating in whatever extracurricular things so that you learn how to work with people and blah, blah, blah. Those are all of the other skills that you get at college. And it's kind of like your middle ground of, I don't know what I'm doing in life, but I don't yet have to know. Like 4 more years, then I can figure it out. So it's a great middle ground to kind of find yourself. So what did you at AIU, do you have specific degree plans, or is it all filmmaking in general? Like, do you have screenwriting, producing, cinematography, or like as your actual specifications?
Yeah, no, they didn't have any, from what I can recall, any specific focus or anything like that. Okay. It's just a bunch of random classes. But yeah, if anything, you know, it definitely taught me, you know, all those things that you talked about. Sorry. Also, it's more so.
That's okay.
Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, it's more so about what you do outside of that. You know, because I built a team of people. We called ourselves the Workaholics. And we were always constantly filming something, tearing up the school. Like, hey, we're here, we're paid for it. Like, you know, we're just tearing everything up. But, you know, they let us, you know, do whatever we wanted because we were creating content and stuff like that. So that is what made us get better and better and better. We didn't wait for a class assignment. We didn't wait for, you know, this and that. We just constantly kept honing our skills because, you know, we're here. We have access to the equipment room and everything we wanted. And so it was just more so go the extra mile, build those relationships, and just, you know, just do more than what's required and what's expected. If anything, whatever you do in college, that's what I think the main takeaway is. You got to do way above and beyond what's expected of you.
Yeah, and that is a skill that you definitely need in independent filmmaking. Not waiting on somebody to give you what you need and just saying, I'm going to go do that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So while you were in school, had you thought about the difference between like being a Hollywood director and writer, like coming straight out here and trying to, you know, make it from the bottom, or were you always just going to be like, nah, I'm just going to do this thing on my own?
Honestly, no, I don't recall that going through it, but I do remember somewhere towards the end where it looked like there was a splintering off that was happening. So by the time we was coming out, the Atlanta film industry proper was actually really starting to happen. And so half of my team went in, you know, I guess the Hollywood direction, which is like, you know, the Tyler Perry Studios and all the other films that was happening in Atlanta. And then myself and a few others, we stayed dedicated to the true independent side of things. So I always carried that torch. And then, you know, years later, you know, we would rejoin and combine our forces, you know, once we get a little bit more clout and things under our belt. So.
And that's what I was going to ask. So do the people who you work with now, or even when you, I'll go back to this question after this, even when you did your first project after school, Did you work with the people that you were in school with? Is that where your first connection came from? Like, hey, I'm about to make this thing. Let me go back to these people I know. Or how did you end up finding your tribe?
Oh, for sure. So that's another beautiful thing about film school. You always are going to have a built-in crew. So I never had to deal with who am I going to get? How am I going to pay these people? You know, so I mean, of course, you know, film school is expensive, but you know, that's the byproduct of it. Like you'll have your core team built in throughout. And then of course, as life goes on, people develop other focus, they get married, have kids, da, da, da. But you know, so by then I can interweave and fill in the blanks with people throughout the community that I meet. But for the most part, my first few projects were just mainly people that I knew from school and branching out that way. So that was a blessing.
Yeah.
So
then talk to us about those projects. Most of my followers are writers, if you don't know.
yeah.
But a lot of them are at a place where they're like, well, I just want to make my own content. And I want them to know what that really means and entails, because I'm a person who believes you do what your strength is, right?
For sure.
Like I'm a writer. I don't have no business being anybody's cinematographer. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't need to be in the editing room. Like I can edit small little videos. I went to film school, sure, but it's like I'm not a director. I can be a producer. I actually have a really good skill set at producing, but like those are not my lanes. So what does it mean when you take on that role of like, I'm going to do this all myself? What does that look like?
Well, the first thing you got to do is that you have to take out the mindset of doing it all yourself to a degree. But you just have to have that community spirit. Like, this is my team, this is my community, these are my supporters. And you just kind of have to have that spirit of discernment. So where you meet people, you know, and all these different events and things that you go to, and people who you know that, oh, I could build something with them. We have the same similar interests. They seem like they work hard, you know, stuff like that. And just start building a rapport with them and see if you guys have similar interests in building the story. Like, hey, I got this idea, da, 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 and just start organically building it slowly and slowly that way. And then, of course, human nature, people are going to want to join a train that's already moving. So once you already have things going and synergy going and talk surrounding your project and things like that, then you're going to get more people involved. Like, oh, my friend's a makeup hairstylist. She wants to, you know, she needs credit. Da, 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 da. And it just builds and builds and builds. And the next thing you know, you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself. So just be about the community as much as you can, because they're going to, you know, make things happen for you bigger than you could ever imagine for yourself. Yeah. But
so you hear that, y'all? Yeah. Even independent filmmaking is collaborative.
It is.
Right? You still have to go find those people with their strengths and pull them to the team, right?
100%.
So, all right. So then what would you say is the most, is the largest obstacle when you're doing it yes, well, there you go.
I mean, that's the leveling playing field. So I'll just get that out of the way because that's for everybody. Yes. But just being a true, like what you just touched on, like you have to really know yourself, know what your strengths and weaknesses are, not only as a creative, but as a person. You know, mine is, I'm with the creative all day. I can make things happen. Da, 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 da. My sore spot can be sometimes my soft skills, and just I need to make sure that I have somebody there with me to be on top of the interpersonal stuff, because I'm so into the project and the creative and getting it done no matter what that I can get the feelings can get lost for me. And you know, we're creative people. We're all about our feelings.
Feelings. You know that. And like I get it, because I've had to teach myself that kind of consideration, because I'm a very blunt and direct person. Yeah. And I realize that most people are walking through life with their feelings first. So whether I care about their feelings or not, in order for us to be productive, I have to care about their feelings. I have to make sure that they feel safe, they feel understood, they feel heard in order for us to get work done. And I think a lot of people take for granted that when you decide I'm a writer director and I'm going to do my project, you become the leader, the manager of people.
Right? And I brought this up the other day, like it's so much psychology involved. Like they really have to stress that in schools or wherever, you know, you go to learn this stuff. Like you
Mhm.
have to be a master of learning the human psyche and emotions and all these things, because you're dealing with these crews and these sets and all these different people and all these different personalities and expectations and things. It's just, so any
Mhm.
small thing could just make things go way left. So you have to be real
Yeah.
cognizant of that, or at least have people around to help you with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and realizing how much it can stand in the way of getting work done. And if you're not cognizant of it as the leader, like what did they say in Remember the Titans? Attitude reflects leadership, right? So
Mm,
if things are falling apart, then as a leader, and it's your set, it's your project, it's your
right.
idea, it's the money that
Yeah.
you raised, blah blah blah. It's like you have to be able to understand that you're stepping into a management role. You know, producers are stepping into a management role. This is not just about filling out the paperwork and
Yeah.
being behind the camera. This is about interpersonal, stuff. And a lot of times when you get in that management position, now you're for real dealing with people's feelings that have nothing to do with your project, but they bring their feelings to work with them.
Hmm.
Right? And now they want to talk to you about, well, such and such said, and she didn't, blah, you know what I mean? And you're like, that's not what we're here for, guys.
Come on now. And then, of course, unfortunately, but the truth is there has to be a bad guy in every situation. So
Yeah.
make sure that you have an appointed bad guy who knows their roles and plays that role, you know, well enough so that, you know, you can come in as the hero, like, okay, guys, you know, I know this situation, but come on, we can do this. Because unfortunately, I had to be in the situation where I was all those things, and then people didn't know how to feel about me. It was just like a mess. So it was like, yeah, you know, spread that around
Yeah.
just a little bit more, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, especially if it's not in your personality type. Like I had to
right.
teach myself. Like it is a daily conversation in my head of Shannon, if you're trying to get something done, then you have to change how you feel.
Hmm.
Right? Like
And
you
even
can't.
the crazy thing is like perception. Like with
Yes.
me, when I'm in my zone, like my face is like, and I'm thinking, and I'm not even like, I'm looking at the monitor, I'm looking at the set, I'm just, okay, I'm thinking, but like, Bobby looking, well, I don't like how he's looking. And then I'm like, is he
Yeah.
looking at me? I'm like, no. So it's like, it's insane. So it's like,
Mhm.
it's just so much science involved.
Yeah, because people start to take things personally and
Yeah.
not realizing that whatever it is you're doing is not a reflection of them, right? But that's just who people are. And if you don't understand people in that way, you'll have that problem. It's just like in any other job, like you're maybe one of the lucky ones who haven't had to have one of these corporate kinds of jobs. But we do the same thing. We go into our
Mm.
corporate job and we think everything our boss does is about us.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we're taking it personally simply because of that power that they have and because they're driving the ship. We think everything they're doing is about us. And it's like, it's really not. And the same thing happens on a film set. It's still a business. These are still co-workers, even if they're
Right.
only going to be here for a month or 2 months or however long it is. So being that manager is a big deal.
And then being that it's in the arts, then the heart comes into it more, and so it just heightens everybody's
Hmm.
feelings and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other side is what you don't want is bringing people on board who don't care. That is
Yeah.
another, you know, they're just there for, you know, hopefully if you could pay them the check or whatever. Like, no, I'm just in and out. No, you don't want that either. So it's a fine, delicate line you got to
Yeah.
play.
So since you are an independent filmmaker,
Hmm.
which means you're usually in charge,
Yeah.
do you have a burden that says I'm supposed to bring everybody with me? Like anybody who's like, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And they like, you're like, well, should I let them come be the editor? Now that's a big job. But a lot of the times we want to hook people up. In our community, we have that burden that everybody thinks, well, if such and such made it, then I'm supposed to make it because they made it. But at the same time, we put people into positions that aren't going to be the best for the
Right.
product or for the project. So how do
True.
you deal with,
I honestly love bringing people with me. I mean, it's just it's amazing. It doesn't work out every time.
right?
That's just part of life. But I love giving people their first opportunities and things like that. But the thing about it is, you know, what I do, let's say from an actor's perspective, and I'll go into other things. But from an actor's perspective, like I build in time for a lot of rehearsals.
Which
Not,
doesn't happen, ladies and gentlemen. So that means he's doing that because he needs that, you know.
yeah, and then a lot of rehearsals, I mean, it serves multiple purposes. It's building the, you know, relationship, the personal relationship, as well as the professional relationships, the expectations, the professionalism, all of that. Then also seeing how each other works. And then, you know, for me, like if you come to all these rehearsals on time, no excuses, excited about the work, ready about the work, then I know you're built for this, and you're ready to come on board. So behind the camera stuff like that, you know, we have, you know, a lot of meetings, and I give out, you know, tasks, little tasks and stuff, you know, and all these things that are needed. But these little tasks are basically goalposts. Can you do this? Can you get this done on time? Can you do that? Da, 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 da. If it's always a him and haw, da, 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 then I know you can't handle the big tasks. So you always have to pay attention to people, the mind, how they work, how they think, how they communicate, you know, all those things. So just constantly have little goalposts, little things in place before the big play, so that you know, don't waste time, energy, and money on, you know, people, which unfortunately
Yeah,
will happen sometimes.
will happen.
It will.
Yeah, and I feel like people can probably perceive that sometimes as, oh, he's making me do this, you know, blah 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 and blah blah blah, and it's like, it's actually the opposite of that. I'm giving you the opportunity to learn, which doesn't happen in a lot of other places. You know, a lot
Right.
of other places, they may just throw you into something knowing that you
Right.
don't know and watch you drown.
And want
But
you
the
to fail.
fact,
They want you to fail. They want
yeah,
you to
want you to
fail.
fail.
Yeah.
But by you saying, no, I am giving you these small steps, I'm giving you the opportunity to succeed. And if you aren't able to do those things, then we can come back and have a conversation about maybe this isn't your strength. Maybe we should try, you know, something
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But like you need, it's like homework. You know, I tell my nephew all the time, he's like, why do I have this homework? The homework is the practice. That's all it's
Mm.
for.
Yeah.
It's not because your teacher just wants to give you things to do. You know what I mean?
Come on.
Because guess what? Your teacher has to grade those things. Nobody wants extra stuff to do. But if you only came in and heard the lecture, I'm calling it a lecture, and then didn't have any practice in between, would you pick up on the skill? No,
Thank you.
you
Thank you.
wouldn't. So those goalposts, that's the homework, that's the practice, so that they can get to the bigger role or the bigger title on screen.
For sure.
Okay, so tell us about your first like big project and what that was like with, you know, production. Whether it's because you had more money, you had more people, you had more resources, or you know, and obviously don't tell us what you can't tell us. But
Oh,
this is more about process, you know.
you mean in terms of now, or because I remember you asking before, like after I got out of film school?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about after you got out of film
Okay.
school. And so you did a lot of obviously smaller projects that you could afford and maintain.
Hmm.
But what was your biggest one of those that made you feel like, okay, I'm stepping into something different here. Like this is bigger than what I've done, even if it isn't the biggest thing you've done so far. But
Got it.
back then it was the biggest thing you've done.
Okay. So when I got out of film school the second time, I came home from Nashville. I went to school in Nashville for a year, and I decided after seeing them in concert for the first time, I wanted to do the New Edition story. And I wanted to position myself as a director, but I knew I was young, just coming out of school, like nobody's gonna want to listen to me. So I just created a pitch trailer. I auditioned some guys, and we did hair, makeup, clothes, all of it. Learned the choreography to, you know, the biggest videos and songs and stuff. And about 4 months later, because it was a long process, we put it out and it went viral and it went crazy. And that was like my introduction into the, you know, not only, well, the entertainment industry at large, because
Yeah.
that's like a huge thing to do. Like, oh, hey, this random kid in Atlanta, he wants to direct a New Edition story. So um,
Hmm.
it was intense. It was great. And actually, you guys can look at, I uploaded, I think, a 35-minute documentary that shows the entire process from auditions to, you know, the whole thing. I always document all my things. So pretty much all my projects have behind the scenes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
documentaries
I saw
associated with
that.
it. Yeah. But that was, I mean, of course, done with no real money or nothing like that. And, you know, just in, you know, utilizing what resources that we had. I love going to Goodwill and, you know, things like that, trying to find the right pieces and stuff like that. I love that challenge. And it was intense, but, you know, it was fun. But it's like you have to be very strategic and very particular about how you want to introduce yourself to the industry, because that's what they're always going to refer back to.
That's it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, since then, just developing my own stories, my own content. Obviously, I didn't get that job, but it did afford me to build some important relationships within the industry. And one of the main things they always say is, okay, what do you have next? What do you have next? What are you doing next? What are you doing next? So at some point, it'd be like, damn, y'all just being nosy. Like, y'all gonna give me a job or
Right.
what?
Right,
But
right, right. Like what at this
yeah,
point,
what's
you know
up?
what my work looks like. Are you hiring me or what?
Come on now. But it's like I low key appreciate it because it forces you to dig deeper and see what more can I do? How can I get better and better and better, and just
Yeah.
blow all the expectations out the water. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much what got me to this point.
So what was the experience like? It went viral, and then
Yeah,
suddenly people in LA had your email address, phone number, Instagram account, and all of a sudden you're hearing from people,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
What was that like?
Overwhelming because, whew, especially at that time, I wasn't really on social media. I don't think I got onto Instagram. I wish I was on top of all that around that time. I just wasn't.
Yeah.
That would have helped tremendously.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't have any representation. I just got representation this year.
Hmm.
So I just wish I was more prepared. So before you take that step or that leap or whatever, you make sure you have everything ready. IMDb Pro set up, ready. Uh, all your credits and things ready to go. A website is good. Your social media on point. Like they comb through all your stuff. So just
Yeah.
make sure everything is reflective upon what you want to be and what you want to be known for.
Yeah,
So
that's good, guys. So, because I tell people often, and they hate it when I say it, but I'm gonna keep saying it because I don't care. Pick a lane. You are your brand,
hmm
right? So, if people are going to your website to figure out what kind of director you are, and it's all over the place, then they will get to know you. They don't
right,
know who you are, and they don't know what they are purchasing in quotations. You know what I'm saying?
true, yeah,
And so I think it's really important. And so I want you to talk to us a little bit about how you utilize social media and how you started, making your brand so that when people come to your Instagram page, your Facebook page, your website, it's all one Bobby. These
right,
are the kind of things that I write, direct, produce. It's not something from way over here that looks like this thing and something over there that looks like that thing. They all kind of fit in this wheelhouse because this is what I am honing. This is my
right,
craft. Yeah. So
right.
what's that like for you? And how does it
Um,
work?
well, that didn't come into play until probably like a year or two later. So I did my first feature called La Vie Magnifique de Charlie, aka the Charlie movie, coming out real soon.
Yes.
Um, and So we went on the film festival circuit. And to me, I treat film festivals like my own screening. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I paid a $30 entry fee or whatever. Cool, great, thank you. But my movie's in the theater now. So what I did was, before we hit a city, I had a team, then they helped me cultivate a list in each city of the radio stations, newspapers, the colleges, the organizations, different things that pertains to it, and then just try to build up that list. And then we blast out a press release. Press releases are important, you guys. Get professional press releases made. You will be surprised who will pick up a story about your film and your project, especially if you have a story behind it. Make sure you have a story behind everything that you're doing. More on that later. But yeah,
More on that. Let's remember that one.
but yeah, and they would pick up the press release. I would get interview requests, and then also on top of that, each city I got into, I would go on Craigslist like, hey, I have 75 or $100. I need a camera person to come out here, for an hour or two at my screening. I'd have them follow me around at the screening, get audience reactions at the end, like, hey, I love the movie, da 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 da. And I always had a tag. Um, Baltimore loved the Charlie movie. New York loved the Charlie movie. LA loved the Charlie movie. So when you go on my social media, you see all these videos and all these, press things in different cities to kind of show momentum and word being expressed. Most of this is hype. You have to generate your own hype and your own buzz. So you got to
Mhm.
think like these multi-million-dollar pictures are doing. I actually go on their social media. What do their layouts look like? What do their posters look like? What do their ads look like? And you just kind of model that and mimic that. That gives you that professional look, that sheen. You know what I'm saying? So the template is all out there for you. Everybody follows a particular template. Everybody follows a particular formula. They're looking to make sure that you follow that because that's what shows that you have an eye, you know, and you have that attention to detail and that you can play with the big boys when your name is called. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And even going back to branding,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff that you're putting out for promotion should all still fit that same brand, right? So there's
100%.
sometimes I've seen people, you know, their film is about this, but the colors they're choosing in their promotion don't fit the tone of what the film is about. The font that
Right.
they're choosing in the promotion doesn't fit the tone of what the film is about, the images that they're choosing, etc.
Everything is a science. Even down to your colors. There's no mistake that certain films use certain colors on their posters. There's no mistake that certain films use certain colors in their color grading and their design, certain fonts. It's just everything is a science tool. So you really have to study what other projects that are like my projects, what are they doing? What have they done? What can I do to make myself different? But more than making yourself different, you got to show that you could blend in with them as well at the same time too.
Yeah.
So you got to think with two heads. But if you're too off the mark, then it shows that you're not really serious and that you haven't done your homework. Because that's a
Right,
telltale
exactly.
sign.
And that's what
That's
it
a
really
telltale
is.
sign.
That's a telltale sign.
Do your
And
homework.
you know, a lot of us don't realize, me included, because when I became a development executive, I got punched in the face because I didn't realize that I needed a marketing degree. It was like, I came in here to give notes on story. What do you mean I'm the person who has to come up with the marketing campaign for these television shows? Don't we have a
Mm.
marketing department? And it's like, yes, but it's your job to tell them what you want, and then it's their job to execute it. And I was like,
Oh.
what? So all of a sudden, I got to find this marketing hat that doesn't exist. So now let's take it to independent filmmaking. You're a marketing person. You have to figure out this marketing stuff and you're thinking to yourself, but I'm a director, but I'm a this, I'm a that. But you need that skill set in order to make this whole thing work.
For sure, or pay some people that know how to do it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Or pay
unfortunately,
some
I
people.
didn't have that, so I had to learn how to, do all that.
Mm-hmm.
And, like
Mm-hmm.
literally to the point where I'm creating, and I have like, a team of people that I can like reach out to from time to time, like, hey, this doesn't look right, this doesn't feel right, is my font off? Shout out to Brandon, B Touch, he's on here, B Touch. Reach out to him, he does great posters and things. But yeah, so I do my posters and all my ads on my phone. So everything pretty much that you see on
Through
my,
phone.
I do it on my phone. It's an app called PhotoFox. It's on iPhone. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different things, but I create the Photoshop, all that stuff and all that stuff. I just, because I had to do it. Like, people could only do so many favors. You're gonna have to learn how to
Yeah.
do all these things
You got to
yourself.
figure it out. Yeah. And because most of us don't have the coin yet, because we're going to get it, you put it in the air, it's happening. I feel it, right? We don't have the coins yet. We can't afford to pay somebody every single time you
Right.
need something. So
Right.
you do have to start learning that skill for yourself, at least in the beginning. And also because when you do hire somebody, you want to know enough to make sure they're doing what you need them to do, because it's not their baby and it's not their brand. So they
Yeah.
can come in and try to say, this is what it should be. And if you don't know anything about it, then you aren't able to say, no, I don't, that's not really it. This is kind of what I need.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, you gotta know
So
what you're talking about.
you do. So let's go back to your story behind the story.
Yeah.
What does
Oh,
that
like,
mean?
oh, like, yeah.
You said that you have to have a story. It has to be a story behind the story. What does that mean?
Okay. So, as filmmakers, we're also storytellers, right? So, you could, but you shouldn't. But you can't just do a story just because you want to do it. Like, oh, a boy meets girl story, and they break up and they fight and they get back together and they break up again. That's the movie. Okay, cute, but what's that about? Why? What makes sure it's different? Why should we pay attention to this? So just tap into the culture, see what everybody is talking about, see what's going on in the world, and how to utilize that in your project. Because next thing you know, now you have buzzwords. Now you have things that people want to talk about. Oh, this like with Charlie. It was at that time, which is still now. We need more content for Black women. I wanted to create something that was like a coming of age story for Black women that's quirky, light, fun and, you know, all these different things. There's not really that much. And then also, so we had that. And then also, there's a sickle cell component. We need more projects talking about sickle cell and people that goes through it and, you know, how it affects our communities and
Because
stuff
we
like that.
go through it the most.
100%. So now you have two or three different, I forgot what it's called, but it's like you topics. It's
Yes, big
about
theme.
topics, themes.
Yes,
Thank you.
theme.
Themes in your projects. So now you have target audiences. Okay. And then you could target them. You can, you know, these are the people that you reach out to, the different organizations when you go to their cities. Like, even still, you can even reach out to them now. Like, hey, we're about to do this story. Would you like to be a part of it? Would you like to sponsor it? You know, so it's like so many
Yes,
things that you can
sponsor.
do.
Bring it all the way back around. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all a part of, you know, doing your homework. So don't just create a story just because you want to create a story. Build it upon themes, build it on things that you know that people talk about, things that are not talked about enough. Marginalized people, audiences. Um, you know, it just, oh, I can go on and on, but it's like, you know, and somebody said Corona Man. Yeah, that's exactly what I did with Corona Man. You know, it's like we're all dealing with it right now, and the hard headedness of it. Like, yo, we want to go out, get our nails done, get our hair did, go back to life, but no, we can't do that. Show what that looks like in a little piece, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. You know, so
Yeah. And please note, they're opening America not because it's safe, but because they want people to make money.
hmm
So just,
and other
remember
things. Yeah,
that. Right. And
don't
other
fall
things.
for it. Yeah,
Just remember that. I'm so disappointed in my hometown because Houston had a huge party the other day. Did you see
I
the images?
saw that. I saw that. Yeah, I saw it.
I'm like, come on, Houston, don't do this. Like, don't do this. Anyway, okay, so what are you working on now, or what is your goal when you reach this place? Not to say that you won't be a filmmaker for the rest of your life,
For sure.
but what's the goal?
Well, I want to be, you know, one of, you know, the many filmmakers who have a canon that touched not just a generation, multiple generations, and just have those handful of films that you put on every year that you can enjoy with your family, and you know, it just takes you to a certain time and place. And like, if you put on a Bobby Huntley film, you know you're putting on a Bobby Huntley film. You know what to expect. It just has a
Hmm.
certain tone, a voice, you know, all these things, no matter what the genre. So I just want to be known as just one of those filmmakers, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I push for, you know, every day. I'm working on several projects right now. Due to the success of Corona Man, I have a lot of amazing new relationships and partnerships with people who want to come on board with my projects. And I'm very excited. And I'm finishing up my film, hopefully very soon, that we were supposed to wrap on March 21st, but you know, we had to
Mm.
cancel. So that sucked.
Good
But
old Corona.
yeah, but you know what? A friend, shout out to Erin, she pointed it to me because we've been in production for almost 2 years. She pointed out to me,
Mhm.
how did she put it? Because I don't want to say it wrong, but essentially, it got put on the shelf because of Corona, and so that Corona Man can give it a bigger and wider platform.
Exactly. Yes, friend. This is what you need on
So,
your team.
and this completely changed the conversation surrounding all my projects, especially this next one coming out,
Hmm.
and put it in a much better situation than I could have ever
Hmm.
envisioned or dreamed about for myself. So it's all in God's timing. You just got to trust the timing. You know, I know me, I like things done fast. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's get it done. But timing has to be right, and it's impeccable, and it's way out of our levels of understanding most of the time. So
Hmm.
just enjoy the ride and the process, and don't freak
Yeah.
out. You know, you have time.
Yeah. Two things I want to point out that he said, guys. I asked him what the goal was, and note that it wasn't about money, even though we all need a coin. Note that it wasn't about the awards, because I had a conversation with somebody the other day. I don't know why it could have been on here. But people were talking about, like, how do you know if a film is successful? And for some people, that success means, well, box office numbers. For some people, that success means award. And for you, success is people are going to want to watch my films every year, over and over and over. Because there are films that get made that make awards that are really big box office films, and I don't necessarily have to see them again.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Love and Basketball. You know what I mean? That I could watch every week, every day, every month, right? And so I think that as a filmmaker, you have to know what that is for yourself, because it's not bad if you're in it just for the money. Because guess what? Postal workers work at the post office because they're just trying to make a coin. It's okay that you decided I'm going to be a filmmaker because I just want to make my coins. That's fine. Know what your lane is. The same thing is true for I'm in this thing because I want to be that first Black, you know, whoever that gets whatever award or blah, blah, blah. That's totally cool. But knowing what you're in this for can really help to take some of that pressure off if it is just, you know, like, I just want to make good stuff that people want to watch all the time. I think that's great. And then the second thing that you said that I wanted people to hear, because it wasn't the point of what you said, but you mentioned it, that you guys have been working on this film that had to be shelved for 2 years. I just want people to hear process, to hear that none of this stuff is easy. You know, none of this stuff happens quickly, because, you know, our generation was a microwave generation. You know, we grew up getting to see, put it in there, comes out in a few minutes, ready to go. I wasn't the social media generation though, so I at least, you know, don't expect things to be right here immediately. But because of those two things coming together, we kind of get put pressure on ourselves when we think something is taking too long. And it's just understand it's process. It may take a couple of years to come out. A lot of us don't know that when we go see something in the theater, that it may have been 5 years ago that they pitched that thing. And then it got put on the shelf for whatever reason. And then they came back around to it and started developing it. And then blah, 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 blah. And now it's in the movies. You know, instead we think because we just heard about it, then that means it just happened overnight for these other people who made it happen. So I just wanted them to hear you when you said, no, like, that happened. We've been working on this for 2 years, and then it still had to stop. So it's still not done. It's still not ready, but we're going to come back around to it. But because of the things that happened in between, it's got an even better platform now. So that's awesome.
For sure. For sure.
So we're open for questions now, guys. And I see one question down. How long did it take to make Corona Man?
So they announced, the governor of Georgia announced it was opening up on a Monday. And I said, hell no. I reached out to my team Tuesday, Wednesday. We shot it Thursday, edited it Friday, Saturday, put it out Sunday.
Okay, I'm just reading so I can make sure I don't miss.
Yeah, no problem. Are they putting it in the question box, or isn't there a question button?
You know what? I've never used this question box, and I don't see anybody using it now. Can you guys see? Does everybody have one? You know, Instagram is good for not rolling out the same features to everybody. You know.
I see. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Where do you mainly distribute? Come on. Where do you mainly distribute your films? Also, how do you identify possible sponsors?
Okay, first part of the question, I'm still trying to figure that out myself. The distribution game is a bit of a monster for me. We're still in the midst of some distribution things for my feature, Charlie. The Charlie Movie. You guys want to check out the trailer and all that stuff. Everything's thecharliemovie.net and Charlie on Instagram and Facebook, all that stuff. So we're still navigating those waters. So nothing has been officially distributed yet, but soon, very soon. Second part of the question is sponsors. I mean, I always say befriend a few dentists.
Yes.
And doctors, and just generally people who support the arts. You have to, of course, invest in yourself first. So you have to show that you're worthy of being invested in. So that's all these projects that I've done up to this point. This project that I'm talking about now that, you know, has been temporarily put on hold, called Connect, by the way, Connect_the film, if you want to, you know, look into that. It's my first project where I actually have investors attached to it. So I've never had that before, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger and better and better as I progress in my other projects. But I wouldn't have had that had I not had the previous success of the projects that I've done on my own. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So but then no matter what, you know, because you don't want to pinch yourself in the corner and be like, oh, you'll get this amount of money back, because, you know, that's a hard, tough sell. You don't know, nobody knows. But find people who are just so in love with the journey and the process of filmmaking. That's why I specify doctors, because, you know, they had to go to school and be doctors, that, you know, they don't really get a chance to express their creativity. So they enjoy, oh, I get to go on a red carpet. I get to be a part of this. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Here's a check. You know, so they just want to be a part of it. So make sure you find those people And it goes down to your theme. Like, I think you should be a part of this project because it's about this, and it's about sickle cell, and it's about that, and mental health awareness, and just, so that's how, sponsorships and investors and all those things come to play. It's all about not only the theme of your projects, but who you are as a person. Sell yourself. It's about selling you as a creative.
Right. And I think don't be afraid to to just ask the question in a broad way, because you never know who's interested in investing in something. There are people who know nothing about filmmaking, but would love to invest in it, whether they are interested in investing in you or just interested in being an investor in something. There are people out there who just want to do that. I did a proof of concept that kind of went viral in January, and I started getting hit up by people who I never knew that they were interested in investing and stuff like that. And they were just like, hey, can you, how do I invest? And it was like, wow, who knew? So, yeah, don't be afraid to just ask the broad question. You never know who's going to jump on that.
For sure.
So the next question that I saw come up is, and this one, I'm going to make it 3-part. 1, do you write all of your own stuff? 2, what's your screenwriting process? 3, do you accept submissions from other writers? And if so, are you the one reading those scripts or does someone else? Those are 3 questions that I saw come up.
I'm going to try to remember all of them. Yes, I write my own projects. I love to collaborate, so I usually bring on a trusted collaborator to help me get my ideas across. Because sitting down and writing, I don't enjoy, but I love going through story beats like this happens and that happens, and they say this and they say that. I don't like writing. And no, I'm not accepting outside work, because at this point, I think it's very important for me to let the world know who I am and what my voice is. That point will come, but it's not here yet. People need to know who the Bobby Huntley film is, so it would have to come from me.
That's good. Yes, brand, bring it back. Yes. Yes. And realize that that's what's happening when you are submitting to production companies and producers and studios. They each have a brand. So they each are only making certain kinds of things, right? You can't just randomly send something and say, well, it's a good thing. Like, guys, it doesn't matter how great Game of Thrones is. It was never going to be on Fox. Oh. It's just not a part of what they do, right? Yeah. So it's not about, sometimes it's not about your project being a good one or not, but it's just about it not being a good fit for that particular company.
Yeah, that's another part of homework. You got to know who you're pitching to.
Got to know who you're pitching to. So when addressing controversial topics in filmmaking, do you think that it can sometimes be too controversial?
Well, it depends what it is, and should it come from you? So that's the question you would want to have to ask. And is it authentic and pure? Like for Corona Man, for example, I was going to do a version of Corona Man a long time ago, in terms of like when Corona first hit. But had I put it out then, it would have my voice would have been like, oh, look how creative I could be, look how funny I could be. But, we're all dealing with this crazy thing we know nothing about, and all these people are dying, and what the hell is going on? So it definitely would not have had the same impact that it did, nor would people have reacted to it the same way, as opposed to when I just waited until my intentions were pure, when I actually wanted to help people and spread a message. That's what made it go viral. That's what made people receive it. So you have to ask yourself so many questions. Am I coming from a real place, an authentic place? Do I know what I'm talking about inside and out? Because people are going to try to challenge you. You know what I'm saying? So you can be controversial all you want, but if you're on some BS, that's what people are going to sniff out, and it's going to mess you up. So as long as you're right, then, go for it. Be gangster. Why not?
Yeah. Yes, be gangster. And realize things are about timing. So that's good too. It's crazy because I was just on a panel the other day, and one of the guys was supposed to have pitched last year, but somehow technical difficulty, some kind of mistake, he was left off the list. So then he pitched this year instead. And in just that year, the world changed so much that now what he was pitching is more relevant.
Wow. See?
So you don't, like, timing is everything. You just don't know, right? So somebody asked the question, and I feel like you kind of just answered it a little bit, but they asked the question of how do you balance your Blackness with being in the industry? Like, do you ever feel like I got to hold back on this Blackness a little bit when I do this particular thing or that?
No, not anymore. No. When I first got out of college, I was thinking like that, but like no, and I'm so happy of the time we're in. As I say all the time, we're in a Black Renaissance right now, where we can center our blackness and be authentically Black in a way that probably hasn't been done in a very long time. So
Mhm.
I relish in that. Like I love it. So my next handful of projects are specifically about the Black experience, and I of course will branch outside of that, soon, because there's a lot of other stories and things I want to tell, not to pigeonhole
Mhm.
myself, but I'm specifically want to talk about the things that I know.
Yeah,
And
it goes back to our duality with, just living with our double consciousness, is that we're always aware of the other side. And
hmm
some of us choose to say, F the other side, I'm just going to be me. And then some of us feel the burden of being the Black representative and just
yeah,
want to write stories that have nothing to do with being Black or being Puerto Rican or being whatever, other ethnicity that you are. And, it's easier said than done to say none of that matters, just be what you want to be,
yeah,
because we're often, put into a box. But that's the other great thing about deciding to be independent, is that you get to decide what stories you're going to tell. You get to decide who's going to invest in that, and you choose your investors and your sponsors based on the stories that you're telling. And you're
yeah,
not necessarily answering to this larger machine that could be
right.
trying to put you into a
Just
box.
be authentically you, whatever that is, and then the world will open up for you. So don't put yourself in a box, you know what I'm saying? So just be you.
Yeah, yeah. Checking the time. Okay, so we have 5 minutes, so I'm going to
Dang, I
close.
want to keep going. I'm having fun. This is fun for me,
Yes,
you know.
I love it when people have fun with me. That's the point. But in these last 5 minutes,
Yeah.
what are your final words? What do you want the people to know? Whether it's about you, whether it's about being in your part of the industry, because independent filmmaking doesn't look like Hollywood. Hollywood doesn't look like independent filmmaking, and then there's a whole lot of stuff that happens in between and on the outskirts of that.
Well,
So what do you want to leave us with?
I mean, Hollywood don't even look like Hollywood right now. So, I mean, don't
Right.
worry about them and what they're doing. You're actually at an advantage as an independent filmmaker now more than ever before, because you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do. So take this time and do exactly that while Hollywood is doing whatever they have to do to try to figure out how to rebuild and make sense of this. Leave that to them. Go ahead and get your project done, whatever scale that you can right now. If all you have is a living room, do what you got to do to make that happen. And trust me, once you get that done and get that out there, there'll be somebody out there that loves what you're doing, who wants to support you and help you branch out. So
Yeah.
just get it done.
And as a person who is over here in Hollywood, we are trying to figure it out. Development hasn't stopped. People, executives are working. Assistants are working. They are reading. They are buying. All of that stuff is happening. I think the biggest thing that we're going to be trying to figure out is production. And if, there's going to be a limit on the number of people who can be where. I'm sure you
Yeah.
guys have seen the 30-page document that Tyler Perry put out, and the number of times they're going to test people, before they get into their bubble, and, all these kind of things. So there's a lot that's going on, and we're going to see, where it lands us. But thank you so much for being here with us today. Hopefully I'll get to meet you in person one day. And thank you for taking my random Instagram or Facebook message or whatever it was to ask you to come out. I do this every Tuesday. Next week, I'm going to have Darnell Brown, who writes on a show that he can't tell us about. Ooh. And that's the other thing you have to learn in this industry, is that sometimes you can't talk about things. Okay. But he is a writer on a television show, but he was a part of the HBO Access Fellowship. And so a lot of my
Nice.
writers are applying for fellowships all the time. So he's
hmm
going to come on and talk about his experience in the fellowship and about those application processes and the interviews and how you should handle those things. So y'all be here next year for that.
I
In the
definitely will be there.
meantime,
Yeah.
oh yes, come on in
Yeah.
and listen. In the meantime, we're doing a pitch fest, y'all. Okay, we know it's hard to get representation. We know it's hard to get your lawyer, your manager, your agent. So I have gotten a panel of people together, and you get to pitch using only your log line. Ooh,
Ooh, and it is a
plot
godsend.
twist.
Representation is a godsend. My life has completely changed the past few months. So thank you,
Yes,
representation.
yes. So when you come in and you pitch only using your log line, you can book a general meeting with either the lawyer or the agent right on the spot, or both, because they might both be interested in you. So that link is in my bio. There are only a few places available because, you know, we can't be talking to everybody all day. But go ahead and get it. It's in the bio. I haven't put up the poster yet, the flyer yet, but you guys will see it later on today. So thank you again, Bobby.
Thank you. Glory to God.
Much
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. And this will be in my IG Live. No, what is the thing called? IGTV. It saves now. So that's awesome.
That's good.
All right, y'all. Peace out.